Hey guys, welcome back. Today we're going to be making some spike shoes for doing epoxy flooring. Now you can buy these for 30 to 60 bucks online, but if you want to save some money and make it yourself, or if you're in a pinch like me, none of the stores in my area carried these, so I would have to wait for them to be shipped. And I didn't want to have to wait. I wanted to get this project done today, so I'm going to go ahead and make a pair of these. It took about an hour or so to make, and all the materials I'm using were just laying around in my shop left over from other projects, so it didn't cost me anything. So to start, I'm going to trace my footprint and then go about an inch wider on all the edges, just so I have a little bit more room to put some laces on. And you'll probably want to make sure you're going to wear the shoes for this tracing that you're actually going to be wearing with these, because these work boots are quite a bit bigger than my regular work shoes. Now I've got both of the shapes cut out, just going to do a quick fit test. Everything looks good. I'm going to move on to drilling the pattern for the screws to go in here. I'm using a countersink bit on this, so the screws will sit level with the top of the wood, so it's easier, it doesn't get hung up on my shoes. And I'm also doing both layers at the same time, that way I have the same screw pattern. Probably doesn't matter as much, but then I'm going to come back with a countersink and countersink the other side as well. Now for the screws, I'm going to be using regular sheetrock screws, and the length really depends on how thick of plywood or wood you're using for these. You probably could use any old screws, but you want to make sure that they're not sticking out farther than an inch. Probably ½ inch to an inch is a good sweet spot for this. Now I need to drill a few holes in this for the laces. I'm going to be putting 2 holes in the front to tie up the front of your foot, and then the back I'm going to be putting 1 on the back of the heel and then 1 on either side of the heel, so 3 in the back as well. Now this step probably is not necessary, but I had some spray paint that I wanted to use up, so I'm just going to put a few coats of spray paint on this to make it look a little bit better. For the laces, I have some paracord here that I have left over from another project, so I'm going to be using that. You don't have to have something that strong. You could use regular laces or some thin rope. That should work just fine. And then I'm going to cut this to length and use my torch here to melt the end of the rope so it doesn't unravel, and that will hold everything together. I'm going to get started on lacing these up, but while I do that, I just wanted to briefly talk about spike shoes and why it's helpful. I would definitely recommend having a pair of these if you're going to epoxy or paint a cement floor. If you try to walk across wet paint, you're obviously going to leave footprints behind, but with these spike shoes you can easily walk across and it doesn't leave any noticeable footprints. The screws themselves leave such a small mark that after you walk across, the paint will fill itself in and cover that up. So it's really helpful, especially if you do epoxy that I'm doing that has flakes that you need to spread over top. It's really helpful to be able to get out there and spread those flakes, so that makes this a lot easier. So I've got everything laced up now. I'm gonna do a quick test to make sure everything fits, and this worked out really well. So these took about an hour to make, definitely worth your time, and I'm gonna go ahead and use this to epoxy my garage floor. It held up really well. You probably could use this several times, but it's definitely not gonna last as long as some of the store-bought options, but it's great in a pinch, and if you're just gonna be doing this once or twice, it's a great option. Alright guys, that just about finishes up the video for today. Hope you found this one helpful. If you did, hit that like button down below, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you have not already. Also, if you guys are interested in seeing how to epoxy a floor, that was my previous video. I'll leave the link at the end of this one. If you hang in there just for a little bit longer, that will pop up on the screen. That was a fun video, and I think really helpful as well. I want to give a big shout out to all my supporters on Patreon. Thank you for your support. It goes a long ways in helping me create videos like this. So if you're interested in supporting the channel, go check out my Patreon link. I'll leave that down in the description of the video below. But I really appreciate you guys. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.